Hello, Ken. Here's my prediction and analysis for the upcoming Michigan State Spartan versus Western Kentucky Hilltopper game. Before I get into it too much, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that notification bell down below. I do greatly appreciate it. Before we get into this one, I think first I'm going to touch back on the Nebraska game just a little bit. Some people have been leaving some comments for me saying that they think the Nebraska game ultimately will be a good thing. And I agree. I 100% agree. With the caveat that that we learn from our mistakes and fix them. There's a lot to learn from a game like that. When you get tested like that, you get punched in the mouth, you learn how your team's going to respond. We really dug down deep. We made big plays at the end of the game to close it out. We didn't give up. It would have been easy to give up, right? Like things start going, for Nebraska, they're not going your way. It's easy to get down on yourself and really let that one slip away because you haven't faced adversity like that so far this season. And none of that happened. We stayed in it. We kept our head in it. We weathered the storm and made big plays when we needed to close out the game. So, yeah, I agree. It is a good thing. When you can get tested like that, when you can face adversity and rise up and get the win, very good things can come from that, especially now that you've got those things on film. You've got the experience of living through it, rising above and overcoming it. And there's lots of lessons to be learned from that. So as long as the players put in the work to fix what needs to be fixed, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. Everybody's going to face adversity like that at some point in the season. Everybody's going to be tested. I mean, probably in more than just one game. And when you can face those things and get past them and walk away with a W, I agree, 100%. It's a very good thing. I didn't want to make my post game on that one seem like, I definitely didn't want it to feel like the sky is falling. I'm not hitting the panic button by any means, but I did want to highlight some of the things that do need to be worked on because, I mean, honestly, like I said in some of my comments in reply, we haven't seen any of that so far this year. I was doing my post-game videos and trying to point to some things where maybe there was a few weaknesses, but we hadn't really seen them as glaring weaknesses. We never really got tested in that way. So I definitely wanted to highlight those things and point out areas of improvement, but let's not hit the panic button. There's no reason for that. Nebraska is improving every week, the same as we are, so of course they're going to be better now than they were when they lost to Illinois. This is not the same Nebraska team. They took Oklahoma, basically to the wire and played them tough. So this is not the same Nebraska team that lost to Illinois in the opener. They are getting better as well. So definitely no reason to hit the panic button yet. If things don't get fixed, then we'll have this discussion again. But yeah, right now it's definitely a good thing, and I have no reason to suspect that Mel Tucker and company won't get things corrected. I think everybody's bought in. They're all on the same page. So they will get this fixed, and we'll look back on the Nebraska game and say, wow, remember when we went to overtime with them and pulled it out? That may have been that was the turning point of the season. That's when we really took the next step, and I could definitely see that game as being that next step game where you elevate to the next level. So yeah, good things. Western Kentucky. I don't see this one being much of a game. Personally, I think that Michigan State is going to dominate in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. As long as you do that, it's pretty hard to be upset and to lose games if you're just winning in the trenches, which I expect Michigan State to do. Western Kentucky's not a bad team. They're also not a great team, and like I said, as long as you win in the trenches and don't shoot yourself in the foot, you should win. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to take Michigan State by 17. That's my prediction for this one. I think they'll win by 17, and I believe that Kenneth Walker will go over 150 yards rushing and have at least 2 touchdowns. I think they're going to come into this one with a renewed focus on getting Kenneth Walker going. I don't feel like they ran him enough in the previous game, so I think that they're going to feel the same way looking back on it and really try to get him reestablished. Anything less, in my opinion, anything less than 25 carries in a game for Kenneth Walker is just not enough. I know that Nebraska was selling out to stop the run, and I get that, but And I know that Kenneth Walker got 19 carries, which seems like a good number, but I don't think that's enough. I know 25, the difference between 19 and 25 is obviously 6 carries. But my goodness, a lot can happen with those 6 carries. It only takes 1 carry for him to bust off a big run and really open things up. So, you know, I feel like he's talented enough. He's good enough. You need to maybe double down your efforts to get him going. Anything less than 25 carries just isn't enough. And it's not because the other backs were stealing carries from him. I know Simmons got some playing time, and rightfully so. You don't want to run Walker into the ground. But, I mean, Simmons only took 3 carries away. So even with those 3 carries, had they gone to Walker, that's still not 25. I would be giving him around 25 carries a game. That's the number that I personally would shoot for. I think he's a really talented back, and I feel like maybe they went away from the run a little bit more than they should have. Yeah, I know Nebraska was playing it tough and tight, but find ways to get him open, to get him some open running lanes. You know, I don't know if that's running more counters or zone versus power, or just mixing up your looks in the run game. There's definitely different looks you can give a defense, even though you're just handing the ball off. So I would I would expect a renewed focus from that aspect. So I'm going to predict he gets over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns against Western Kentucky. And in line with that, I expect the offensive line to reestablish themselves. They were a little up and down against Nebraska. The run game wasn't quite as effective, and that's partially on the offensive line, and the pass blocking was not where it needed to be. So there are some, I've pointed to it in a couple videos now. I'm just going to mention it briefly. There's some communication errors or, I don't know, misunderstandings or whatever it happens to be. Some communication problems that need to be cleaned up on the offensive line, and the way that the offensive line communicates with the running back in pass protection. So I expect that to get straightened out. That's easily fixable. So I expect that to get fixed moving forward, and I expect them to have a much better game against Western Kentucky. It's also why I'm picking Michigan State to win by 17. I don't think Western Kentucky can stop Kenneth Walker and Michigan State's run game for an entire game. So, and once the run game gets going, again, you're going to see things open up more for Peyton Thorne to hit some deep throws that he kind of struggled with against Nebraska because he was under pressure so much. So, yeah, Peyton Thorne, I'm not going to be too critical. I know I picked out some things that he did poorly in the Nebraska game, but honestly, he's still playing well this year. His numbers still look good. He had 1 bad interception. I'm not going to crucify a guy for that. It happens, especially with a quarterback that doesn't have a whole lot of playing experience. He had a little bit last season, and obviously first few games this season, but so far, you know, he's never really been tested like he has against Nebraska, I don't think. So, you know, he had that 1 pass that was a little bit late, kind of floated it over the middle, and Nebraska safety just made an easy play on it. He's definitely going to learn from that. I think he's going to continue to take care of the football and make good decisions. And as long as he does that, they'll be just fine. You know, don't let that last game linger. Just shove that off to the side and get back to how you were playing before that game. Chalk it up as an anomaly. Kenneth Walker, I spoke about him. I think he's going to reestablish himself. He's going to have a pretty good game. The wide receivers, Nailor's got to get involved. I don't really know what the key is to make that happen. I've suggested running some jet sweeps or some screens, just something little easy passes early in the game to get him going, to get his head in it. For him to not just be just not be on the stat sheet at all against Nebraska, to me, quite frankly, is unacceptable. He's a playmaker. I think he's proven that. He can be a big play guy, so you got to find ways to get him involved. Call pass plays to get the ball specifically to him. Maybe even run some rub routes to get him open. Do whatever you have to do to get the ball in his hands. He can be a major part of this offense, and I don't think he's being used quite enough at the moment. So I think from a play calling perspective, they could do more to make sure he's involved a little bit more in the game. Same for Connor Hayward. Connor Hayward's proven himself to be a heck of a tight end, a H-back, whatever you want to call him. He's made some really nice plays so far, and I felt like in the Nebraska game in particular, they went away from him a little bit when you should have been going back to him a little more. He had a couple of really nice plays, and they just didn't use him enough. So another guy that could be looked at to be used more in this offense. I think he's the best tight end / H-back, whatever, that they have, and I think he's proven himself worthy of some more balls being thrown his way. So I look for more of that. Defensively, I expect the defensive line to dominate this game against Western Kentucky, just like they have done so far this season. That defensive line has really been a force, and I continue that to be the same in this game as well. Linebackers, somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to be a playmaker. Somebody's got to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. They were a half step slow, a little bit late a lot of the times, and really just didn't have a chance to keep Adrian Martinez bottled up. He got out and scrambled way too easily, made too many plays because of it. Really got Nebraska back in the game because of that. So somebody from the linebacking group has got to step up, start to flash some playmaking ability. They haven't done a terrible job. I'm not gonna sit here and say that they're awful linebackers, because I don't think that's the case either. I just think somebody needs to take that next step. It's time. Somebody needs to take the next step, elevate your game a little bit, and really start to flash some playmaking potential. I think if it's just one of the linebackers can do that, that makes this defense just that much better, that much more dynamic. So I'm really looking forward to somebody from that group stepping up. I'm not really sure who that's going to be yet. The group has been pretty quiet as a whole, so I'm not going to name one particular person that I think will break out, because honestly, I'm not really sure. Somebody needs to do it. So, we got to find that guy. Xavier Henderson's going to continue to play well. I have not seen a game so far this season where I felt like he played poorly. He's been on top of it, doing his assignments, reading his keys. He's been all over the place. Corners, I don't know if it's coaching, but I would like to see the corners get a little more aggressive, especially early in the game. I feel like Kimbrough, when he jumped that slant route, you see the instincts there. He diagnosed the slant route early. He saw the quarterback's eye staring down that pass the whole way. No hesitation. He jumped that route. He got the big interception to basically get Michigan State the win. And I think that he's proven he's got the instincts to be a playmaker at corner. So let him come up and play a little bit more press coverage. Let him play a little tighter coverage early on. I don't know if it's been just the game plan for the defense, or if it's the corners deciding to back out a little bit. Whatever the reason is, I would like to see him be a little more aggressive early in games, especially against a team like Western Kentucky. I think you can take a few more chances with Western Kentucky, just because I think you will be dominating in the trenches. So let those guys move up a little bit. Let them play a little more press coverage and see what happens. Coaching, coaching looks pretty good, honestly. I haven't had any major issues with the coaching. The only thing I would point to is offensively, maybe run a few more jet sweeps, maybe a few more screen passes. Try to work the edges of that defense a little bit more. You got some playmakers at the wide receiver position, and it helps keep the defense off balance if you're throwing those guys some screen passes. Let them make some yards after the catch, and let them just use their speed and ability to make some big plays rather than having to throw downfield all the time. And those are easier throws, helps get everybody in rhythm. So a little bit more of that I think would be good, but overall the play calling's been pretty solid, so I won't dissect it too much. Like I said, Western Kentucky's not a bad team, so don't sleep on them. They could definitely surprise somebody, but based on the numbers that Indiana put up, especially in their run game, the Western Kentucky's lost to both Indiana and Army. I think Michigan State's a better team than either one of those. I know you can't really I don't really like playing the comparison game, because each game is its own unique thing. And there's really no way to compare game to game to game. It just doesn't. Football's never really worked that way. But, I would, based on how they played against those teams and the outcomes of those games, I'm going to say Michigan State shouldn't have too much trouble with Western Kentucky, because I believe Michigan State's a better team than Indiana and Army. And I think they will come out with a renewed focus after the Nebraska game, and it'll be a good chance for them to implement some of the things that they learned from the Nebraska game. It's one thing to just watch it on film and know what you have to do, but now you have to go do it in a game, and I think Western Kentucky offers them a perfect opportunity to do that, and that's what I expect to see. I expect to see a renewed focus, I expect Michigan State to get back to playing good, clean football and doing their assignments. So that's my thoughts on the game. I do got Michigan State winning by 17, and Kenneth Walker going over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Would not be surprised if he had more than that. I can definitely see him having another monster game. So those are my predictions for the game. Those are my thoughts coming out of the Nebraska game and heading into this matchup against Western Kentucky. So remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification down below, notification bell down below. Do leave some comments. I'm starting to get some comments and some feedback. You know, we're getting a little discussion going, and I love that. Send me your thoughts. I'll reply to them, and we can get a little discussion going about where the team's at, where we think it's headed, how we feel about it. So, yeah. That will do it for this one. Remember, all love, all the time. Peace.